Hi, I'm Patricia Ercolino, the producer of Sojourners Along the Way. And Sojourners wants to focus on health issues to help our viewing audience to get in good health. The professionals that we have had and will have and have today are all trying to give information that will help you no matter where you are in your health issues. Please listen to the advice that is given by them, so that way we can overcome any health issue. Today's guest is Barb Nakanishi. She is a registered dietitian, a certified diabetes educator who works at Ohio Health, a Blennis Hospital here in Athens, and also at a Hocking Valley Community Hospital in Logan. So enjoy Barb's program today.
I wanted to talk to you because March is National Nutrition Month. I'm wondering if you've seen the slogans. It's called, the theme this year is Bite into a Healthy Lifestyle. A lot of times people wonder about how do I lose weight. Most of my clients have diabetes or are overweight. So I want to share some information about what can I eat when I'm trying to lose weight. So many people think, you know, I have to eat less, but today I want to show you what you can eat more of. So, well, first of all, we've always seen on these plates, you know, on the My Plate, that we're supposed to have half our plate vegetables and we're supposed to have a fruit on our plate. I truly believe that if most of us would eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, that it would help us to eat a little less of the high-calorie foods, and it would help us lose weight. Even without counting calories, you know, if you just eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. So I've been trying to do that myself. So what's that going to look like? You know, I might have to eat 1 or 2 fruits with my breakfast in the morning. I might have to eat 1 fruit and 1 vegetable with my lunch, and 1 fruit and 1 vegetable with my supper. And for most of us that are busy and in a hurry, when we grab the quick economical pizza, there's no fruits and vegetables. So there is a whole meal without any fruits and vegetables. When my kids prepare a meal for themselves, even though I as a dietitian always say, I don't care what you eat, just eat a fruit and vegetable with it. So I've been trying to get home more and actually have dinner ready so that they will have a fruit and vegetable or at least 2 vegetables with their dinner. Well, actually, sometimes as a busy parent, I had to make dinner last night so that it's ready tonight for them. We're in softball season now. I'm sure other people have kids in sports. Rather than have a drive-through, now if they get home first, they can, you know, warm up the meal. So by adding plenty of vegetables to the stir fry and just a smaller amount of chicken, we can have high vegetable content meal. So I really truly feel like if somebody out there is wanting to lose weight, they want to start a new way of thinking about weight loss, you might try this simple solution. How can I eat 5 fruits and or vegetables a day? A combination like maybe 2 fruits and 3 vegetables would work. And if you really truly do that, you will be full. And if you also drink a glass of water before each meal, that will help, because when you add fiber, you need to have plenty of fluid in you. There are wonderful benefits, of course, to eating more fiber. There are some organizations that feel like we could prevent 30 to maybe 40% of certain types of cancer just by lifestyle changes alone. That means don't smoke and eat adequate fruits and vegetables and whole grains as well. A little less meat and things like that. Wow, we can prevent disease by eating enough fruits and vegetables. You might say, well, there's all these health benefits, but are there any drawbacks? Well, there's one drawback. As you eat more vegetables, you will be more gassy. So you could do it slowly. If you don't eat very many fruits and vegetables now, you might start by just maybe adding 2 every day for a week, and then maybe add a 3rd item next week, and so forth. But your goal is 5 a day. And the other drawback might be, if your doctor has ever said you need a low-fiber diet, then you need to listen to that advice. You know, this works for a big percentage of the population, but there are a few people out there with certain medical conditions that should not eat high fiber. Some people have a complication of diabetes called gastroparesis. That's a fancy medical term for meaning that the nerve endings to your digestive tract are damaged and the food does not go through you as readily as if you didn't have that problem. And because fiber takes longer to digest, people that have that condition actually need to eat low fiber and actually low fat and low fiber for that condition. There's might be some people out there with an obstruction in their colon, an obstruction in their digestive tract. Or maybe they've just had surgery. So there's a few instances where high fiber is not the key, but your physician would have probably told you that. So for the rest of the population, high fiber is good. And then I discovered this wonderful book. Patricia, you're going to have Dr. Drozak talk. I was just looking through some of his materials that he has in his lifestyle medicine clinic program, and his first topic is, what else? High fiber. And there's a book called The Full Plate Diet. And I was looking through it, and it has some wonderful resources. How do you know how much fiber you get already? Because fruits and vegetables don't have a label on them when you eat fresh fruits and vegetables. So there's a nice guide. Estimate so many grams of fiber for your grains or for your fruit or for your vegetables, and then there's a nice handout to just carry around with you for a few days and add up write down the foods you eat, and next to it write the grams of fiber using that little cheat sheet, that way you don't have to look up every single gram of fiber in every individual food that you eat, and just see where you're at. And then in America, most of us are eating maybe 10 to 15 grams of fiber a day. And the recommendation is closer to, you see some recommendations, 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. And there's some other experts that say if we can get it up to 40 grams a day, that's even better. So I just want you to know that sometimes people turn their ears off when you say eat, this well-balanced plate of food, or I forget which organization made up the slogan 5 a day, but years ago there was a slogan and a health promotion out there that says eat 5 a day for the 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. I think now the slogan is more matters, and that's where some of these came from. Don't forget, when we're talking about fruits and vegetables, to eat a variety of colors. There's different vitamins and nutrients and all the different colors. And just because you didn't like beets growing up doesn't mean you might not like beets now. There are several vegetables that I thought I didn't like growing up because my mother made asparagus from the can, or peas from the can, or maybe beets from the can, and they taste different if you eat them fresh or if you buy them frozen, or if you roast them. It wasn't until I ate out at a restaurant that I had roasted asparagus one day. So I challenge you to cook and eat your vegetables and fruits in a variety of ways. You can grill pineapple and fruit, so with the Food Network out there now, there's lots of good recipes and ideas just for you to try all these things. The second thing that I noticed in Dr. Drozak's presentation is there's a wonderful resource in that fiber section about how to just add fiber to things that you're normally eating. So at breakfast, if you're a cereal eater and you grab a low fiber cereal and milk, and then you're out the door, well, instead pick a higher fiber cereal, add some fresh fruit to it. So that's a kind of a small change that you can make in the right direction. I hadn't thought of this, but what if you eat soup? What if your favorite thing is tomato soup? It's quick and easy. There's people that are, cooking for themselves. They don't want to, cook a lot of different foods, and they just want something simple. I know I have clients that are more immobile. It's harder for them to get around. There was a good idea to put whatever vegetables you like in your tomato soup. Maybe just mixed vegetables, even if it's, corn and carrots and peas or whatever you like. So that was an idea that I had not thought of before. Salads, some people like chef salads with and the concentration is on, you know, the meat in there, the meat, cheese, and eggs. And but I'd like you to think about having a salad. Think about a grain, you know, put a bean in your salad. I never thought of this before, but my friend said, Barb, sometimes I throw a grain in my salad. If I have extra brown rice, I put a little bit of brown rice in my salad. So the brown rice has the fiber. Put some beans in your salad, you know, dried, you know, like garbanzo beans or black beans or edamame, that's soybeans, things like that. So if you put you can even put fruit in your salad. Some people might not think about that, but you could put dried fruit or some fresh fruit, whatever tastes good to you. So by adding fruits and some other chopped vegetables, some beans, you will add a lot of fiber to your salad. And here's another idea my sister gave me, and it's also in the presentation that Dr. Drozak has. If you have pasta salad, how many people here in this area, when you have pasta salad, what do you put in there? You put pepperoni in there and tomatoes, right? Well, two things. Try making your pasta salad with whole wheat noodles, and if you don't think you're going to like them, my one sister made it half wheat, half whole wheat, and half white. So try that. But my other point is add more vegetables to your pasta salad compared to the pasta. You know, there's a lot of wonderful vegetables that would taste good in pasta salad, like broccoli or whatever you like. So, so try that. Pizza. Pizza is another thing that we have a lot, and it can be economical. But I challenge you to, whether you've bought it frozen and you can add your own vegetables before you bake it, whether you make your own homemade, you know, you can get some good recipes nowadays for whole wheat pizza crust. I found, well, this doesn't have anything to do with fiber, but I found a pizza crust yeast in the store that makes making homemade pizza faster. So that's a tip there. And then, you know, I grew up with pepperoni pizza or everything on it pizza, and there are so many different ways you can eat pizza to add vegetables. Think about adding broccoli to your pizza. Think about adding fresh tomatoes on top of your pizza. I've bought spinach in a bag, frozen, you know, but not the block, but the kind that has, you know, it's more crumbled and you can get some out a little bit at a time. I've made some homemade pizza lately and put some spinach and sprinkled it around the top of the pizza. So these are lots of ways that things that you're normally eating, like pizza, like pasta salad, there are a lot of ways that you can add some fruits or vegetables or whole grains to your usual food to make your diet higher in fiber. And while I'm thinking about this, even though the posters here are talking about fruits and vegetables, the other way to add fiber to your diet is to eat whole grains. And I know you probably think, oh, I've heard this before, but are you doing it? A lot of my clients, again, want something fast and they're eating sandwiches, sometimes even twice a day. Some of my clients are eating out twice a day because they eat out for work and then they have kids and they're busy and they eat at fast food. So they're eating a fast food sandwich for lunch, they're eating a fast food sandwich for supper. So whatever the case, or you know, some of my clients like soup and sandwich, just something easy. So I want you to think about that. Each slice of bread, if it's white, has maybe 1 gram of fiber. The standard whole wheat bread has about 2 grams of fiber per slice. But if you would, instead of the sandwiches, and instead have a side dish, maybe have your meat on your plate, have your, you can still have a salad or vegetable, but try some barley. Try some quinoa if you haven't tried quinoa. That's a grain. Well, it's not technically a grain, but let's see. There's wheat berries. I've discovered those a couple of years ago. You can make a side dish, you know, with these wheat berries. It takes about 50 minutes to cook. You can make it savory and add onions and peppers, or you can make it sweet with your wheat berries. You could add some like balsamic vinegar and a touch of honey and maybe some fruit like strawberries and oranges. So there's wheat berries, there's barley, there's couscous, there's and that comes whole grain. So some of the other grains have a few more grams of fiber compared to bread. So that's my point, that expand your repertoire and make some other dishes that have high fiber, whole grain foods. And so anyway, that's what I'm going to try more at home. Is I'm going to try to continue to just have that couple vegetables or fruits at each meal, and see if that that helps my family maintain a good weight and just feel good and get through our day. I have to work. My kids are in sports. We have to be at our best performance. So and then hopefully prevent some diseases ultimately down the road. So that's kind of what was on the top of my head today that I wanted to promote. But Patricia, is there anything else? What else would you like to talk about today?
Well, you have a box of all kinds of visuals for us.
Yes. Okay, so you guys might be thinking, okay, Barb, you're telling me to eat more fruits and vegetables. What might be a standard serving size? A good rule of thumb would be a half a cup of fruits or vegetables that are maybe canned, something like this. And if it's fresh, maybe a small to medium piece of fresh fruit. And the reason, and of course you get the skin when it's fresh peach over canned, so that adds more fiber. Let's see, there's your standard piece of whole wheat bread there. This represents, a half a cup of vegetables. We're talking about bread. This is a standard piece of whole wheat bread. And as we're talking about fiber today, there are a few brands out there that actually have fiber added to the bread. So a typical piece of wheat bread has maybe 2 grams of fiber, but there are some breads out there that have more than that. I think maybe 4 grams per slice.
Barb, I have a question since you're talking about the bread. Which is more important, the fiber or the sugar and salt content?
Well, it's all important, but today I wanted to focus on fiber, meaning the first ingredient needs to be whole grain. There are some wheat breads out there of course they're made from wheat, so they can say wheat bread, but we want you to have whole wheat bread, so look for a wheat bread that has whole wheat as the first ingredient. All kinds of products are going to have different amounts of sugar, but remember, bread has yeast, so it needs some sugar to make it rise. So most breads typically have 15 grams of carbohydrate in them. I haven't looked at the exact sugars lately, but just remember, in bread you do need some sugar for the bread to rise. Now in cereals, that's a whole nother story. There are cereals, that are sweeter than others. Even the ones that don't seem very sweet, have some sugar in there. So if you can find cereal where sugar is not in the top 3 ingredients, that's the best. But I'm promoting eating cereal that's not in a box. That get a cereal that doesn't have a label. And what I mean is, let's have some whole grain cereal like oats. So let me show you something about oats. Compared to some, I know there are some boxed cereals out there that are high fiber, but I want to show that just the whole grain natural cereal, the cereal that comes just from nature. If you have oats, the way it comes from nature is this oat groat, this where my finger is here. And it's going to take longer to cook it. So then manufacturers came up with the steel cut oats, and they're less processed compared to these other rolled oats. So they took this whole oat groat and put it through some blades, some chopping blades to cut up the grain, and this takes about 20-25 minutes to cook if you want your hot cereal made from steel cut oats. And then most of us grew up with these rolled oats, old-fashioned oats, and they have been steamed and then rolled to be in this format to make them faster to cook. And then the quick oats are even chopped smaller, so they cook even faster. So I think it's fun to show people the difference in these processing techniques for something that we all grew up with, oats. Who knew that there was, some of these other varieties out there that were more whole and less processed. So, I don't remember the fiber off the top of my head, but I know oats is probably closer to 5 grams of fiber compared to some of the just basic cereals in a box that are not promoting themselves as being high fiber. Some cereals have maybe 2 grams of fiber, unless you find one that says higher fiber. Let's see, what else? For those of you who like rice and you've never tried brown rice yet, this is an example down here at the bottom of brown rice. It has the bran still around it, and therefore that's why it has more fiber. Right here, farro is a grain. It's a little bit similar to a wheat berry. This is what I meant by having a side dish that's made from something whole grain. There's many, and again, I don't remember exactly, but I think there's at least 5 or 6 grams of fiber in a serving of this. And let's see what else. Let me show you what's on the other. Well, here's another example of couscous. Couscous comes whole wheat, and then it's the standard kind that we may be used to is lighter in color. But there is a whole wheat version, and the good thing about couscous is it cooks pretty quick. So when you're in a hurry, you just really boil the water and then turn the water off and put your couscous in and let it sit for 5 minutes and then fluff it with a fork. And again, with all of these grains, you can make it savory and have onions and celery and carrots and things like that, and garlic, or you can make it fruity if you want, put strawberries and other fruits in it. Barley is a whole grain, and my mom didn't make barley when I was growing up. I don't know if she knew what it was or if she just didn't like it. I know it's in soups, and some of us are familiar with it more than others. So again, put barley in some of your foods, eat it as a side dish, or put it in your soup.
Thanks for the form there, Brandon.
Spelt is the form of it is similar to the wheat berry or to the farro that you saw. Quinoa is a good source of protein for people that aren't eating, for people whether you eat meat or not, but quinoa is a good source of protein. And let's see, I did try teff once. It's originally from Africa, I think. So quinoa is a good thing. Teff is a grain that is originally, I think, from Africa. And I did try making a hot cereal with teff, but it just didn't have the texture or the hearty consistency that I was used to in the steel cut oat. So it was just different. But it wasn't something that I decided to keep eating. It wasn't bad, but just wasn't for me. So those are just some examples of some whole grains that I want you to be familiar with in case you've heard of them but hadn't seen what they looked like. Now back to these vegetables. So back to the point about eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. A typical serving of a canned or cooked vegetable, let's say, just think of a half a cup. Whether it's green beans, whether it's cauliflower, peas or carrots, this is approximately a 1/2 cup. Now, some people, you can think of beans, these like kidney beans can be considered a vegetable. In some food grouping systems, we think of it as starchy. There's also protein in there, so it's got a lot of good variety of things. And that would be a standard serving here, somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 cup. For the potatoes are a whole food, so if you do choose to eat potatoes, this is probably somewhere around 5 or 6 ounces. In the diabetes food grouping system, we say that a 3-ounce potato is like a piece of bread in terms of calories and carbohydrate. So this might be just slightly more than 1 piece of bread equivalent. But again, eat the skin. That's where a lot of the nutrients and fiber are. When it comes to fresh vegetables, think about a measuring cup being a serving. 1 measuring cup of fresh vegetables is a serving. So in review, we've got 1 cup of fresh vegetables or salad, or we've got a half a cup of cooked vegetables. For fruit, just think about 1/2 cup if it's canned or just a mixed fruit salad. Just if you're not sure what, just a half a cup is a good place to start. Or, like I said, a small to medium piece of fresh fruit. Or you really get a good cupful of berries, the blackberries, the strawberries. I don't have all of the berries to fill up this cup, but that's a good portion, or a good cup or so of, cubed up melon.
Now, when you talk about the difference, and which one would you advocate, canned or fresh?
I would promote fresh because the skins are there more often compared to canned. And try to just get them when they're in season. I know that there are berries frozen that you can get even in the winter when the berries themselves are not in season here in Ohio. Canned is, fresh is the first choice, canned would be second choice. Juice is my third choice because, like I said, most of my clients have diabetes or are overweight, and we don't want you to drink your calories. It's more filling if you eat the whole food itself. So we've talked a little bit about how to eat more in order to lose weight. And by eating more, we mean eat your 5 servings of fruits and vegetables throughout the day. Eat your fruits and vegetables, or not that you have to eat them first, but make sure that when you develop your plate of food, make sure that you have an idea, or when you're doing your meal planning, make sure that you have that fruit and vegetable on your grocery list so that you know when you're going to make a meal what you're going to serve. That gives me another thing to talk about. When you go to the grocery store, think about this 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Multiply that times how many people are in your family. For me, I have me and my 2 daughters. So I'm going to have the 5 fruits and vegetables a day for me. That's 5 times 3 of us total, that's 15. I need to have enough food in my house to have 15 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, times 7 days a week. So think about that. One of my colleagues that you all might know, Francie Ostrom, before she retired, she would say when she did grocery store tours, and she said something like maybe a fourth, maybe even a third, but a fourth at least, or a third of your grocery cart should have fruits and vegetables in it to make it happen, that you can serve your family enough fruits and vegetables. So I always think about that. Think about that when you're at the store. How much of your cart is junk food and how much of your cart is fresh produce? And we know that not everybody shops and gets their produce at the grocery store. You may have a garden. You might go to the farmer's market. So it's not nice to judge people as they're walking by you with their grocery cart. But personally, if you're getting all of your food at the grocery store, you should have a significant section of your grocery cart should be designated to the produce. Anything, let's see, a few other things about produce. You might ask, you asked me which fruits are better. Again, with vegetables, frozen is great, fresh is great. Canned vegetables traditionally have a lot of sodium added to preserve them in the can. Nowadays, food manufacturers are getting on board. They are making more varieties of vegetables with less or even no salt added. So if you get canned vegetables, try some of the ones that are in the grocery store now that say no salt added. There are several tomato products. There are several. I see them when I go to the store. Right beside the green beans, the peas, the tomato products. There are several varieties that you can get. Let's see. What else can we talk about, Patricia?
Did you finish everything in the box?
Well, I wanted, dried fruit. Dried fruit, typically a serving is 1/4 of a cup, or maybe, I mean, that's just a typical, or, maybe 2 tablespoons of raisins. Now, again, they're good for you, but when you're trying to manage your weight, just remember that, this 1/4 cup of dried fruit, or like I said, the 2 tablespoons of raisins has as much calories as, that 1/2 cup or that small handful of grapes. So you have to think, what is more filling for me, and which would I rather eat? So, here's this pound of fat. Remember, when you're trying to manage your weight, weight maintenance is the first goal, not to gain those pounds every year. Think about what you weigh in high school, and if there's any people out there that are in their young 20s or have not too long ago graduated from high school, I encourage you to just try to manage your weight and not gain weight. What happens is people get married and they get comfortable and they like their spouse's cooking, or they go out and eat more, or they just whatever, they tend to be less active in their jobs. A lot of people are gaining weight, a few pounds a year. Well, it might not seem like much, but then before you know it, when you're 50 or 60 years old, you've got 20 or 30 pounds or even more heavier than when you were graduated from high school. So think about not gaining the extra weight, trying to just move more and do what you have to do to, if you're at a healthy weight in the beginning, or when you graduate from high school, think about how can I prevent those unwanted pounds from putting them on in the future. And then if you are overweight or obese, then I suggest that starting with 10% weight loss, if you're 200 pounds, 10% of that is 20 pounds. Start with trying to lose 20 pounds, or 10% of whatever your starting weight is. That's a goal, even if you're 300 pounds, and you know that you should lose over 100 pounds to be a healthier weight. That's a lot of weight, and that's kind of drags you down, thinking, when am I ever going to be able to lose that much weight? So, work on it 10 pounds at a time. And I want you to know that 1 pound is successful. 1 pound, some people, if you have those scales with a notch, it doesn't seem like 1 pound is very much, but 1 pound is a lot, and 1 pound, every pound is helpful to better health. But the research out there is showing 10% loss can actually have an impact on health benefits. Helps your blood sugar, just helps your, I have a lot of clients who I see who have a lot of pain because they're, they've injured, whether their obesity has caused their, back injuries and their knee injuries, it certainly doesn't help. So just that weight loss to make their joints feel better is also helpful. So don't give up if you're trying to lose weight. Every pound that you lose matters. And the rest of the foods in here are more of the proteins and the fats. The government guidelines say, you can put protein on your plate. You see the plates behind me, 1/4 of your plate can have protein on it, whether it's a meat-based protein, or a plant-based protein. It's your choice. Think of the size of a deck of cards. That's what we often say is a reasonable size of protein. I'll tell you what I like in the grocery store now. If you are a meat eater, they have the thinner sliced chicken breasts in the grocery store now. Of course, there's a price. They are a little more expensive because the butcher had to do more work to slice them in half, but they cook faster. They just seem easier to prepare. So, that's just sometimes when you have a whole, do you know what I mean by those large chicken breasts at some of the grocery store? It seems like there's very large pieces in there. And I think I weighed one the other day just for fun, and it was close to 8 or 9 ounces. So that meant that one of those was really 3 servings. And I know a lot of people who eat one as a serving because that's the way it's packaged. So again, when you're trying to lose weight, think, is that piece of meat I'm eating the size of my palm of my hand, or is it 2 or 3 times bigger? So that's one place that you can do to cut back on your portions. Let's see. So that's just an overview. It can be, there's meat, chicken, fish, whatever. If you like plant proteins, peanut butter, tofu are some ideas. Next time I make stir fry, I just told you I made chicken stir fry. Next time, now that I've got the recipe down pat, I'm going to try my stir fry with some tofu. Let's see what other goodies are in here. We've talked about cereal already, so this is just an example of a packaged cereal. I think on this one, can you see it? Oats, whole grain oats are the first ingredient, so that's good. Sugar is the third ingredient, and then salt. You want to find cereals that are you want to find cereals with the least ingredients possible. That means, that's more whole that way. And, sometimes it's nice if you can find a cereal where sugar is not in the first top 3 ingredients. But as you know, whole oats have been touted to, help you lower your cholesterol. So this is one choice that is a whole grain cereal. I'd like you to try the whole oats or the steel cut oats, though, if you haven't tried them yet, with some fresh fruit. That's really good, lower sugar, lower salt alternative. If you are interested in the Dr. Drozak's Lifestyle Medicine Clinic or some of the materials that I mentioned, his website is www.thelifestylemedicineclinic.us, and the phone number to get more information about his Lifestyle Medicine Clinic is 740-753-7323. Okay. One thing, Patricia, that I can't talk about yet today because I don't personally have enough information, but that I need to research, and you might find this interesting for one of your shows, and this relates to weight loss and some other things. For years, we've been talking to people about weight loss means you have to eat less and exercise more. Yes. I wanted to say something about some new research that's coming out. In weight loss, we would always say that what really matters is calories in versus calories out. How many calories do we eat versus how many calories do we expend doing our activity and our exercise. And as health professionals, we would always say, you have to eat a little less, you have to exercise a little more. And although that's still important, there's some new information coming out about microbiome and or the gut bacteria that we have. That actually the type of gut bacteria that we have can influence our health. They play a bigger role in our ability to lose weight and maintain that weight loss than what we realize. Watch for articles and things about that. When you do eat more whole grain foods, the bacteria in my gut's going to be a little different than when I was eating white processed foods. So as I make that change, well, it's partly the fiber too. I might be a little more gassy, or and I'm might see, one doctor one time said there's a war between the 2 different kinds of bacterias. And so if I continue to eat whole grains and the fruits and vegetables, my body gets used to that, and then I will be less gassy over time. But guess what? If I start falling off the bandwagon and I start eating a lot more white foods again, then I'm going to start being gassy all over again, because now this other bacteria in my gut is taking over, and you might see a change, or a little bit of gas difference there. So just FYI, if you're eating whole grain all the time, then you'll feel one way, but I know that if for whatever reason you're visiting people, or for whatever reason you start eating more white foods again, processed foods, like just like the white rice, the white noodles, the white bread, you just might see a difference in how you feel. So, that said, as I look to my left here, I see these posters, and I wanted to mention a few things about these vegetables. I know I showed you a few vegetables from my my food models suitcase here, but a few things also I want to say. Eggplant is another vegetable that I really didn't think I liked growing up, and I'm actually still trying to learn to like this one. But again, with the farmers markets out there and the grocery stores, again, I'm trying, every now and then I try some eggplant again in different ways to see if, my taste buds are going to adjust and like it. This next picture is snap beans, and they remind me of like the sugar snap peas. So whether it's just the beans, I'm trying to grow beans in my garden, and I've always grown the bush beans, and for fun, last summer I just decided to plant the pole beans. And they taste so good when they're cooked fresh. But my kids, what I wanted to say is these sugar snap peas, the kids seem to like those, and they'll actually eat them in stir fry, and you can even buy some at the grocery stores and just eat them right out of the bag. Mushrooms, I've never liked mushrooms very well, but again, I'm trying them again, or if they're cut up small in a food, I'm trying them again, and they're okay. Have you heard this before, that you can actually buy those big portobello mushrooms and put them on the grill, maybe a little bit of oil, or maybe some balsamic vinegar, and some people eat those big mushrooms just like they would on a sandwich instead of the lunch meat or something. They just put it on a sandwich. So that's an idea. One of the medical students I talked to one time, we were talking about asparagus, and she said even though she was a busy medical student, she would often put asparagus on a tray and would just drizzle it with a little bit of oil, whatever spices she liked. She might have liked salt or pepper, or maybe garlic powder, and it was, I don't know, she didn't tell me how much temperature, but I'm thinking you can roast your vegetables maybe 400 degrees, maybe 20 minutes, depending on how much. I think she put her whole meal in the oven, her protein, her vegetables, maybe even her potatoes, her sides, and would maybe in 20 minutes have a nice meal all ready in her busy day. In the winter, I want to remind people to roast their vegetables. You could put onions and carrots and asparagus on a sheet, on a tray sheet, and I say cookie sheet, we call them always cookie sheets, don't we? But on a tray, we should call them vegetable sheets, shouldn't we? Put them on a tray, and you can roast your vegetables. Zucchini here, thinking about grilling vegetables, I know I mentioned it briefly. You can put these vegetables on a skewer and make kebabs out of them. So there's so many different ways we can eat the vegetables instead of just boiling them in water, is my point here, that there's a lot of tasty ways we can eat these. What I think about when I think about the tomatoes over there is how many of us just eat a slice of tomato on our sandwich? We need to be eating a whole tomato every meal. If I said earlier that a cup of raw vegetables is a serving, I can often fit one tomato in this measuring cup. So I need to be eating the whole tomato instead of just a slice of tomato. And that just brings another world of ideas to me. People stuff tomatoes with different things, whether it's a protein item like chicken salad, or I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I have a recipe for using garbanzo beans, or what we call chickpeas, and making kind of an imitation chicken salad out of that. And you could stuff that inside your tomato. I'm learning to like rhubarb too. It's a little sour for me, but it reminds me of zucchini too. I used to think all you could do with rhubarb was make it into pie, and I used to think that all you could do with zucchini was make it into bread, because that's what my mom did. But Of course, we know that you can do a lot of wonderful things with zucchini. Just steam it and grill it. It's a wonderful vegetable to highlight as a vegetable. Rhubarb is a little sour, so you have to be careful how much sugar you put on there, but I'm not an expert on rhubarb yet, but I'm sure there's a lot of good ways to eat that. And of course, most all of us like corn on the cob. But what you can do, though, if you are having trouble chewing it, or you don't have, I think about all the people without teeth. I see a lot of people in my job who don't have any they either have false teeth and they don't fit right anymore, or they just don't wear them anymore. And maybe you just need to cut the corn off the cob for some of those folks. Or kids with braces, you just need to alter things a little bit and take the extra time to prepare the food. And speaking of time to prepare the food, we really just need to take time every time when we get home from the grocery store or from the farmer's market. And it does take time to prep the food. It takes time so that we know when we're going to use it and not to let it go to waste. Believe me, I've let some things go to waste on accident before. It's not I'm not proud of it, but in our busy lives, I know it happens to the best of us. So I know that you do have to have some time where you're preparing your food, whether it's cutting up carrots. I have this dilemma every time I go to the store. Should I buy the convenient, those little carrots that are convenient, baby carrots, or should I buy the whole carrots and just cut them up? I mean, every time I go to the store, I go back and forth on that. But the last time I did buy the whole carrots and just got my little vegetable peeler out, and it was very easy to make a few carrot sticks. It didn't take that much longer. But do what works for you. Just do whatever you need to do to get the vegetables in your cart and get the vegetables to your home, and then actually get the vegetables and fruits used up and don't let them go to waste. And have your kids, I have to try to tell my kids, you help, it's your responsibility to help. If you see something that's been in there for a while and that might be on the verge of going bad, remind me that we need to, put this into a meal. Canned peaches I like. The apricots I'm still not quite a big fan of. Blue, the colorful fruits and vegetables, all of the vegetables have nutrition, whether it's a white vegetable or a colored vegetable, but definitely you want to get the rainbow of colors. The blueberries and just all the different colors. There's so many nutrients and antioxidants and what we call plant chemicals in these things that you just need to get them every day for good health. So you choose what you like, choose what's in season, and of course the top poster is enjoy all the colors of the rainbow. I even ate some Brussels sprouts. There's Brussels sprouts. I didn't like Brussels sprouts growing up either, but I'm trying them a little more often when they're offered at a cafeteria or in a restaurant. I do from time to time try them again, and I eat a few every time. So there's hope. If you didn't like something as a kid, keep trying it occasionally as an adult, and you might find that you like it now because it was cooked different than when you were a kid, or your taste buds have just matured. These are called glucose wands. They represent normal blood sugar and high blood sugar. This wand actually represents normal blood sugar. You can think of the white beads inside there as the glucose itself. It needs to get to all of our body parts, all to our cells, to give us energy to do our daily work and exercise. Or you can also think of those white beads as nutrients. So if the blood is flowing to all of our body parts like it should, the blood is delivering oxygen and nutrients and glucose to where it needs to go. Okay? So what happens in high blood sugar? And this is a very simplistic representation, but you can see how much slower the nutrients and the glucose are flowing here. So when you have high blood sugar or diabetes that's uncontrolled and the blood sugar is staying too high, it's harder to get the glucose, which means blood sugar, or the nutrients to all your body parts that need the oxygen and the glucose and the nutrients. So if you can think about it, everywhere your blood flows can be damaged by high blood sugar. we said earlier, the nerves to your hands and feet, or even to your digestive system. We talked about your eyes and kidneys and heart. So this is just my little motivation here to motivate people that if your blood sugar is high, get to your health professional to see what you can do to get it back to normal. In some cases, it's people can't afford their medication. There's a diabetes-free clinic here in Athens, so maybe you need a referral there if it's medication related and you need help with your medicine. There's physicians there, there's diabetes educators there. If you're having a hard time purchasing a blood glucose meter to even check your blood sugar, there are generic brands out there. So if you don't have insurance, there are generic brands that maybe you could afford at the stores instead of the name brand. If you need help with meal planning, really sometimes just weight management, these tips that I've been giving you about portion control, adequate fiber, are often helpful ways to help your blood sugar as well. Look at how fast the nutrients moved through the normal blood compared to the other one. Oh, I have two more things in here we can talk about now that since we've talked about diabetes. There's a lot of interesting sayings out there about whether you should even eat dessert or not when you have diabetes. There's two schools of thought. Some people would say don't eat sugar. When people were diagnosed with diabetes years ago, health professionals would say don't eat sugar. But we're all human, and we know that sometimes we're going to have birthdays or special occasions. Could you eat a half a cup scoop of ice cream instead of a big bowl? I have lots of clients who say, I don't know, maybe it is easier not to eat any than to not have my big bowl that I'm used to, but that's your choice. But I want to offer a suggestion with cake. With the frosting, it's equivalent in carbohydrate to about 2 pieces of bread. This, let's say about a tablespoon of frosting has 60 calories and about 15 grams of carbohydrate. And that's what a piece of bread has, or that small potato I was mentioning. So just the frosting added to the top of the cake, is double the calories and double the carbohydrate. So one option would be, of course, not to eat the cake at all, if you can do that. If you do want a piece of cake, the second choice would be to eat it without the frosting. And then, of course, the third solution would be, if you're going to eat cake, try to have a moderate piece and don't go back for seconds. Another trick with sweets is think about having a dark piece of chocolate, or I'm thinking even, my dad would say, I could be satisfied with just a few M&Ms, or, one Hershey Kiss. Well, if that works for you, that's great. I know a lot of other people, though, that can't stop after those first few, and they end up keep going back for the rest of the candy in the bag. So you know yourself and how your taste buds are and how your personality is, and to know whether you could be satisfied with just one little piece or not. But those are all, everybody's different, so it's whatever works for you. The reason I was thinking about these sweets is, Easter's coming up. Some religious programs are in Lent right now, and some people give up things like candy during Lent, and other people, and then they celebrate on Easter. So for long-term weight management, just think small servings, and think about dates are a natural food too. They are naturally sweet, so just, it's a dried food, so 1 or 2 is a reasonable portion, but that can give you the taste of having something sweet. You want a whole food instead of the processed cake. Or as you plan for your meals, your Easter, your holidays too, just make sure you plan for these fruits and vegetables at your holidays, just as you do regular days of the week. I know that there are a lot of people out there that want you to name the top 5 fruits or vegetables, and I know there are publications that do that. To me, it's hard to name just 5. I know, well, in a vegetable, I've read this. All the vegetables are good for you, but I do want to mention about kale. When I was growing up, I thought kale was to decorate the salad bar. Kale is one of the most nutritious foods, nutrient density wise. I want to encourage people, if you've never tried kale, to try it. It tastes a little bit different in the winter than it does in the summer. Try kale. So kale is, probably no one would argue that kale is one of the most, nutritious vegetables that we have, if you think of in terms of ounce for ounce or nutrient density. Orange vegetables are good for you for certain reasons, and the red ones and the dark green ones. In terms of fruit, you hear blueberries a lot are promoted because of the antioxidants and the different vitamins in the blueberries. But really, all of the fruits and vegetables are important. And it's really important to try to get a variety. Fruits and vegetables are a food that you should eat, though, if you're thinking in terms of what should you eat or what shouldn't you. I mean, definitely eat your fruits and vegetables. You know, I think all foods can fit, but I want you to try to limit things. One of the promoters of this chip program would say, don't eat food that comes from a crinkly bag. It's better to eat the potato instead of the potato chip in the crinkly bag, is what he means. Or instead of eating cookies out of a crinkly bag, it's better to eat, the whole foods. Definitely we should stay away from trans fat is in some of the convenience foods that we get. It's put in there to make them shelf stable. It's in some of the crinkly bags, it's in some of the chips and cookies and things. More food companies have been taking it out, but if you see the word trans fat, like for example popcorn. First of all, we have made popcorn buying the kernels ourselves. You can put 1/4 of a cup of popcorn in a brown paper bag and pop it in your microwave, and that's less fat and more economical. But I was looking at convenience popcorn at the store, and my girls were saying, oh well, we want to make some, but we want to buy some movie flavored popcorn. But I really had to look at all the popcorns out there because some had way more trans fat than others. The one I found one without. There were several that had several grams of trans fat. So anything snacky type foods, could have trans fat in there because it makes it shelf stable. So when you say what to stay away from, I would say foods with trans fat. Try to limit your processed foods, things in the packages. Try to eat the whole version when you can. You don't have to buy all organic food, but there's a list out there on the internet called the Dirty Dozen. So foods that, there are some foods that you might be more motivated to eat organic, like apples, because you're just biting into it and eating them. It might be something you would want to choose organic. I want to promote that you eat the fruits and vegetables, so I want to make it as easy as possible for people to just eat the fruits and vegetables, first of all. But if they want to choose organic, they can, or look or Google that Dirty Dozen and see if that list is that not to eat. Summer's coming, so what not to eat? When you grill, we talked about all these healthy fruits and vegetables to prevent cancer, certain types of cancer. When you grill, when that meat, that fat from that meat drips into the coals, it causes a reaction that can be cancer promoting. Grill your meats less. The same thing doesn't happen when you grill vegetables and fruits, so you can grill your fruits and vegetables. Don't grill very often. Another thing that I read about, hot dogs and bologna and processed lunch meats. I've read some articles that there are with the different ingredients in there that like nitrates and things, that it would be better if we didn't eat them very often. Once, if you're going to a baseball game or something and you eat a hot dog, I mean, that's one thing. But if you're week in and week out, you're purchasing those things, it's probably not the best idea. Again, what do you do instead? Well, you can make a roast. If you choose to eat meat, you can make a roast and then use that meat for your sandwiches, and that's going to be less salt and better for you all the way around. So I guess those are the ones that cause a red flag to me, would be the processed lunch meat type meats and the trans fat items. It'd be better if we didn't eat them very often. Most foods can fit. I just think you need to think of the portion that works for you compared to your activity level, so that you can portion control will help with weight management. That's it on that subject.